What Tim is doing, he's making the whiskers, the imitation whiskers. So we're using a 250-pound fishing line, and then he's going to taper it. It'll keep the same thickness where he starts, then it'll get medium and then very thin, so it'll have a nice taper to it to make the shape of a fake whisker. And then they sand them so they don't look shiny like the fishing line. What I'm doing is sanding off any of the shiny stuff and then any of the pieces that are still on there so it doesn't stick out. You want them to look smooth like a real whisker. So they'll go inside the copper tube so they'll straighten out the fishing line. We try to get them all at the same length so we can pull them all out. We're going to put them in the dye process here shortly. Your fishing line. It's going to absorb the dye. Now they're pouring in the dye for the whiskers, and the dye is made out of Rit dye, primarily yellow with just a tad of brown. Tim will go ahead and plug in the hot plate and put it to a high and then turn it on. And it doesn't take very long to get it to boiling. What Delores is doing is rocking the container to make sure the ink is going to go in the copper tubes going from one end to the other. And you'll see it come to a steam pretty quickly. It only takes 30 seconds to 1 minute. And if they want it a little darker, they could keep it in there a little longer. And then the paper towel over there on their right, they'll use to pull their whiskers out, and then they dry them off immediately because sometimes they'll have a little lump of the dye on there. And then their whiskers are done. And they'll be ready to put on their hats when their hats are ready. About how long did it take you to chafe the fishing line to make the whiskers?
Probably 10 minutes total.
And how many whiskers do you have?
6.
6 in Delores?
3 or 4, I remember.
And then how long did it take you?
15 minutes.
And then again, after boiling in this for just 30 seconds to 1 minute, it'll evolve into a sea lion whisker. You're going to just take them out and look to see. Actually, they're getting pretty close to done. That's more of a redder color. Yeah. Good colors.
Yeah, they're pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close. And if they're too bright for you, you could sand them down a little bit more to take off some of the color. But they are a good color. And then you can see the whiskers that are at different lengths, and they could attach them if they want to, or they could use them for their mini hat or their balloons. This one's a lighter one. You could tell I forgot to sand, so it's still shiny. But then the other whiskers are a little darker in color.
Yeah, the whisker comes in the front hole, comes through, and then gets threaded back up through the back hole. And so right here the whisker is doubled, and I'm just going to start with an overhand knot. And then I'm just going to do a series of overhand knots. So the overhand knots are working in an upward direction. I'm making sure to tie that extra lashing in as I work up. And once I have it tied up as far as I'd like to tie it, then I just trim it off. I have the last whisker ready to go. I'm going to take it and thread it in through this up the forward hole. And then the tail end of it, I'm going to thread that up towards the back hole. That looks like about 1/2 inch. it's done to the length that I'm happy with, then I just trim it off. And that's how you tie the whiskers off.
You could use seal whiskers, but they're very short. You just would have to add them on and attach them.
I'm going to attach two whiskers together. I'm going to do that with a bead since it's such a small whisker. I'm going to put a bead in and put a whisker in. You have your bead in here and you can see the two sinew pieces. What we're going to do is we're going to half hitch some sinew around it to hold it in place.
The sinew is made traditionally out of the tendons of the sea mammals, so the muscle and stuff. Be braided together, and actually I learned the braiding process in Russia, and basically all they do, they put them together and just roll it down their leg and it twists, automatically twists.
Okay, so that's good enough to leave it in there. Cut it.
And as Delores said, the beads were for decorative purposes, but also they were to show how successful of a hunter they were. So they'd have shorter whiskers, and then they could keep making, adding on whiskers with the beads. So this basically makes two whiskers look like one long whisker. So now she's doing the other half. She's tying a knot on there first. Then the very end of the one shorter end of the sinew, she'll lay it against your whisker. She's gonna wrap it around, and then she'll do half hitches around the two whiskers. And the tail end of the other string. And this was done also by using a little strip of seal gut. They will get it wet because it'll, when it dries up, it would shrink, and then it would tighten up the whiskers. And then she'll cut off the excess string.
You could also do this with putting a feather in here along the whisker. To put a bead on one single whisker, it's a lot simpler, especially if you have a very small bead. You will basically just string the bead on the whisker until it stops. Push it on. And since these are so small and the whisker's so big, I don't really need to put anything else on to hold it in because it just holds it itself.
The ones that we've seen in the museum exhibit, the old ancient one, I was impressed because it didn't only go through. Normally I would just string it through the back piece. In the display, they would drill clear through with the very back of the hat. So it would come through the wood there, so I'm going to try that and to attach it in that manner. Okay, one of the final processes of the Bentwood hat on the full crown hat or the chief's hat would be attaching the whiskers. And to attach the whiskers, we would use a back brace. And you can see I have it clamped on. And so I'm going to drill 2 holes through the back brace and through the hat. And I seen this process in the exhibit here at the Smithsonian Museum. So I'll be drilling 2 holes. And what I'm looking for is to make sure I'm not hitting the sea otter's paws. Okay, I have the holes drilled. And now I'll be attaching the whiskers. So they're not going to go in that way, so what I'll do is I'll go in from the inside of the hat and run it through the holes. There's one whisker. The second whisker is coming in. Hey Delores, would you come help me with it? Okay. Now we're pulling him back through. You can hear how tight he's getting. And then I'll unclamp the back. And he is attached. This one I'd probably do at least 10 whiskers on this one, maybe even 15 or 20.
We are done.